Thank you very much. Thanks for having this on the agenda. And I agree with the idea of obviously referencing the opinion in the oral question. I think it's, well, the first point is to thank the many disability activists and groups, in particular ENO, for pushing to put this question on the agenda. Obviously we in this committee and generally in the Parliament deal now at the moment a lot with the impact of austerity on different groups in society, and it's clear that the impact on working people generally is very severe. We know the very high rates of youth unemployment, the high rates of unemployment generally. But I think it is worth focusing a particular attention on the brutal and inequitable impacts of austerity on those with disabilities. There's a very good report, which I would recommend that everyone reads, came out towards the end of last year from the European Foundation Centre, which documented how austerity impacted on people with disabilities, which showed that more than 1 in 5 disabled people, 21.1%, are at risk of poverty in the EU compared to 14.9% of people without disabilities. It illustrated the massive direct cuts to benefit payments, which in Ireland are between 5 to 8%, in Greece between 20 to 40%. The direct budget cuts to necessary social services, for example, grants to local authorities in the UK, cut by 28%. And obviously the general attacks on the public sector with the closure and merging of services such as daycare centres, home care services, vocational training, result in diminished and under-resourced services for those with disabilities. Obviously the cuts to staffing, the pay and conditions of workers who assist those with disabilities. Like again in Ireland, you have a massive cut in what are called home help hours, so those who can come and assist those with disabilities or older people in their homes, those hours cut by over 1 million hours. In particular, one of the features of the crisis has been the cut to independent living support, which has been seen in a number of different countries. And you have a very regressive step happening at the moment, whereby progress that was made in terms of the establishment of the right to independent living being eroded and being pushed back, all under the guise of it being cheaper, necessary austerity, etc., etc. But actually what we're talking about here are short-term cuts that will even in the long term have a negative economic benefit in terms of the state will end up paying more potentially for old-style services as opposed to independent living. Cuts linked to that in support for workplaces employing the disabled. In Britain there was a celebrated case, or the infamous case of Remploy, which closed down due to a cut in supports. So I just think this question is an extremely important one for us to pose to the Commission and for us to discuss and have a discussion in the Parliament generally about it. I reject the logic that says, you know, in a best case scenario it's about sharing out the misery a bit more fairly. I don't think we have to share out the misery whatsoever. I don't think those with disabilities, like other vulnerable sections of society, I don't think they should pay a price for the economic crisis. I think, you know, the bankers, the bondholders, those who continue to get richer in the course of the crisis should pay the price, as opposed to people like that. And the just final point I'd make is it's important we discuss this inside the Parliament. Outside the Parliament there are very important mobilisations happening of people with disabilities fighting against cuts.